All right, so thank you very much for coming out tonight to the back to school night. I will try to make this short and sweet and kind of go through. This is basically going to give you an overview of all the content we're going to be covering, different things that work in the classroom, and then specifically we're going to kind of focus on the whole flipping the classroom a little bit so you guys kind of understand the why, the process, and what's kind of expected at home. So one first thing I'd like to talk about is that this classroom could be very student-led classroom where the kids are going to do most of the work. I'm not going to, I will obviously teach the kids. It's not like they're just going to come here and do whatever they want. But they're going to do a lot of leading their own groups. That's really what we've been focusing on this whole week is them working in groups, solving their own problems. We kind of have, they have to ask 3 people before me to try to solve their problem before they come to me. They've actually done a really good job with that so far. They obviously need some reminders being the 4th day of school, but they know to ask people before they get to me. And so I teach pretty much in small groups. We don't really do a lot of whole group, me in front of the board and they kind of watching me. Math and reading will be totally taught in small groups. Virginia Studies and Science will sometimes be whole group, but we do a lot of group work activities. One of their favorite things in Virginia Studies from past years was when they wrote their little skits. Your child had me my first year of teaching. They did it where they all wrote it on paper and then performed it. Last year we kind of stepped it up and they had to actually memorize their lines and they performed in front of a green screen and then put different images behind them. And there's examples of the green screen ones on my YouTube channel. I don't remember if there's one from my first year, but you can check those out on my YouTube channel. They all have classroom jobs. There are 24 students, and so they are magically happen to be 24 different jobs. I don't know. Every year it works out. I have 26 jobs the first year, and I had 26 kids. Last year I only had 22 kids, and I had 22 jobs. It's magical how it all just works out. So they pretty much run the classroom, the day-to-day stuff. Like student reports attendance for me. Student takes care of the behavior chart. The student who was supposed to raise the board didn't do her job before she left today. But pretty much they run the whole classroom. I tell them that it's their classroom. They need to keep it in order. I'm just kind of here to teach. So it's going to be a big shift in responsibility from 3rd grade and the younger grades because they're kind of running the classroom. I'm just here more to teach. So to talk about our classroom expectations, there's really only 4 guiding classroom expectations, which are all up here. It's be respectful, be responsible, be safe, and make good choices. And I tell them I can basically get away with just saying make good choices because that kind of covers the rest of them. But that's kind of how we want to run the classroom. We want to respect each other, be responsible, safe, obviously, especially with the yoga balls. Safety is a big concern because I've had kids in past years, not this year yet, bounce, and then fall right off the ball. So they know not to do that when I was demonstrating that to them. I actually bounce and fell right off the ball. So there haven't been any student injuries from the yoga ball yet this year. One adult injury. So on the behavior chart, which is right here, and I think there's a picture on my website, I don't remember. Everybody every day starts on green. If they make good choices, they move up. If they don't make great choices, they move down. If they move down to yellow, they basically just get a warning, letting them know that they need to kind of readjust themselves, seeing how they're getting or how they're doing. If they move down to orange, they will get a behavior reflection sheet, which basically just says which expectation did they follow, how did they meet it, why wasn't this a good choice, what could I do instead, and if they did something, if they weren't respectful to somebody else, they would have to apologize to that person. And if they do something super out of line where they move all the way down to red, I'll tell you in the past couple years, I've only had kids end up on red like 5 times between the 2 years. They will be calling you at work or wherever you happen to be. They will actually be the one making the call. It will not be me. So just as a forewarning, if you get a call from them in the middle of the day, that's why. The reason I have them call is because they're the ones who made the choice to get down to that level. So again, kind of going back to the student-led thing, it's helping them to take responsibility for their actions. If you're at work and you absolutely can't pick up, that's fine. They'll leave you a voicemail. But just hopefully you don't have to worry about getting that call at any point. At the end of the day, I will sign their agendas, which we've set up. Most of them have yellow folders. If they didn't have a yellow folder, some other folder. And we'll have their agenda, which is also posted online. When I get to the stuff about the website, I'll show you how to get to that. It'll be signed in whatever color they ended the day, based on that chart. want to see in the agenda. Blue is still good, green is still good. You see yellow, orange, or red. Try to have a discussion with your child, try to figure out why them did. The really nice thing about the behavior chart is if they move down, they're not stuck there for the rest of the day. Like, so maybe in the morning they say something disrespectful to one student, but then later on in the day they're going above and beyond helping. I'll move them back up. So their agenda might have arrows involved too. And so that the arrows kind of mean like they might have moved down at one point and they moved up. So just make sure you're looking at both the color and if there's any arrows. I know it sounds a little confusing, but once the year is on, you kind of understand. You're welcome.
Selling all our furniture.
We make an
Indeed, you do. Does anybody have any questions about this? It's outlined a lot on my website also. This was also kind of outlined on one of the letters I sent out in the beginning of the year. So we have, I'm going to kind of talk a little bit about the different content we're going to be covering. We have 4 main areas: reading, math, Virginia Studies, and science. Reading, math, and Virginia Studies have an SOL at the end of the year, and science does not, but they will have a SOL in 4th. This is 4th grade. They will have a science SOL in 5th grade, which covers 4th grade material. So on reading, our big focus is on literal comprehension for questions that can be answered directly from the text, like what is the main character's name. But then we also have a huge focus on non-literal comprehension skills, which basically they have to think about what they read and kind of think further than that. So like maybe that rather than just saying what did so and so do here, the question might be why did they do that, or how do you know they are feeling that. So in 4th grade, they the first K through 3, the job was to learn how to decode the words and really understand it. In 4th grade, I like to say that they're no longer learning to read, they're reading to learn. So they have to think beyond the text. The main skills are going to be main idea and detail, so over like what's the overall arching theme of that piece they read, cause and effect, what happened, and then why it happened. Fact and opinion, is it true? Can you prove it? Opinion, is it like kind of a feeling word? Is a good way to explain that. Predictions, that's reasonable. What will happen next? Reasonable being the key word, because I tell the students that predictions, you can't necessarily get that wrong. It just might not be a reasonable prediction. And inference is just a way to kind of reading between the lines is kind of the way to say what an inference is. Conclusion is very linked to that. All this purpose, like why the author wrote that, and all this purpose is a skill that was built in 3rd grade and kind of built upon. Rather, in 3rd grade, they talked about like, is this written to persuade, entertain, or inform? This is written like, how do you know that it's written to persuade? How do you know it's written to inform? What did the author do to entertain you? That kind of stuff. Context clue is just basically what a word means based on the words around it, and problem and solution, which is what's wrong, how do they fix it. So they can, some questions that they'll see on different assessments, and as they're reading, and if they're in guided reading, I'm asking questions, they will have some literal questions like what happened first, second, third, and then they will have some higher level questions where they have to think about why that happened, how do we know that happened, X, Y, Z, that kind of stuff. In math, I kind of broke it down by advisory. In first advisory, when now we're going to be reviewing whole number, place value, and also start decimal place value. So the first couple of weeks, we'll actually get into place value in the probably next week. Addition and subtraction with whole numbers, and we'll start multiplication in the first advisory. So the first advisory is kind of a lot of review from 3rd grade before we start jumping into new stuff. It's about halfway through the first advisory, so we actually start brand new skills. In second advisory, we'll be talking about multiplication, and the 3rd grade expectation for 4th grade expectation for multiplication is that they will be able to multiply a 3-digit number by a 2-digit number, and we'll be teaching it with the normal traditional up and down line, but we'll also be doing it with the lattice box, which we'll talk into that. I find the lattice box actually, it might sound and look confusing to you initially, but it helps the students a lot because it forces them to kind of know the basic facts a little bit more. But I'm getting about an advisory ahead of myself right now. Elapsed time, which is just basically how much time has passed between 2 different things. Geometry, which is just shapes, pretty much is what that boils into. It's a very basic version of geometry. It's not finding area, length, width, volume, all that stuff. Just basically recognizing different parts of geometry, different shapes, points, lines, segments, intersections, all that kind of stuff. Third advisory will be fractions, everything from identifying fractions all the way to adding and subtracting fractions with unlike denominators, which is a little daunting to the students at first, but once we kind of go through the process, it seems a lot harder than it is like a 5-step process, but it's pretty much just multiplication. Decimals, we'll do operations with decimals. We do introduce decimals in first advisory, but we don't work again with them until second advisory, just because fractions and decimals are very much linked. And we will actually continue our discussion on elapsed time in third advisory. And fourth advisory will be measurement. We'll be talking about capacity, length, and weight, both in U.S. customary units and also the metric system. And we'll also talk about probability, and then we'll also kind of review the whole year. The one best thing that you can do to make sure that your student is successful in math in this year is make sure that they absolutely have a very, very strong handle on their multiplication facts, because multiplication will affect pretty much everything from the second, actually till the end of the first advisory on, because every one of those skills in some way, shape, or form will include multiplication. And if they don't have multiplication down, they're kind of going to be dead in the water. So they're dead in the water. So starting hopefully this week, make sure that they are practicing their multiplication facts, just their basic facts from times 2 all the way up to times 10 or 12, really. But multiplication is going to be one of the things that are going to make math a lot easier for them. Because even if they understand the process on how to do these things, they can get very exhausted if they have to make a 100 chart every time to figure out what the product is. So that's my biggest recommendation. How you can start them, make sure that they're successful in the first advisor or second advisor starting now. Make sure they're drawing their multiplication steps. And Virginia Studies, we basically cover 400 years of stuff in 1 year. Everything from pre-Jamestown to present day. So we will actually, starting today, we already started Virginia Studies, starting with geography. We just talked about border states, the different regions of Virginia, the water features. From there, we just move on to the Native Americans and then Jamestown settlement. Hopefully, we will finish the settlement of Jamestown around the end of the first advisory. In second advisory, we'll talk about colonial times, Williamsburg, Richmond, that kind of time era. Talk about the Revolutionary War, and then the birth of the United States, everything that has happened after the Revolutionary War, like the Constitution, James Madison, Thomas Jefferson, all those important historical features. Third advisory is Civil War, which is my absolute favorite unit. Out of all the units I'll be teaching, Civil War is my favorite thing about fourth grade. And Reconstruction, which is just how we're dealing with the country afterwards. And we'll kind of dabble into a little bit of the civil rights movement, basically just centralize on Virginia's role in the civil rights movement. And then in the fourth advisory, we'll talk about the government of Virginia and coming up to present day. Virginia Studies, it is a lot of stuff that we cover, like I said, 400 years. But it's basically just Virginia's role in history. So we don't really talk about like the Liberty Bell, or we talk about Thomas Jefferson wrote the Declaration of Independence. We don't talk about the Constitution or not the Constitution, the other one. We talk about just Virginia's role in it, and we do talk about the whys and stuff, but it's a lot of facts and information. Virginia Studies is my favorite subject to teach out of all 4 subjects, and the students really enjoy it too. I learned a lot. I moved from Pennsylvania we are out of Sparkbrook, so when I came down here, I was learning the curriculum about a week before I was teaching it. I have a much better handle on it now, but it's Virginia Studies. Your student will learn a lot, and you'll probably learn a lot through your student, because there is a whole heck of a lot of information that they learn by the end of the year. And then in science, science is a little bit more of a lighter load, because math and Virginia Studies and reading is such a huge stress, or not stress, but focus, I guess is the word I want there.
No stress.
I didn't say stress. So science, we're going to start talking about natural resources soon, and then space. First part of space, we just talked about the Earth, Moon, and the Sun. Second part of space, we'll go into the second advisory. That's when we talk about the rest of the planets. Then we'll talk about weather. And third advisory, we'll talk about force, electricity, and magnetism. And fourth advisory, we'll talk about plants and animals. Science, we try to do a lot of hands-on stuff. One of our field trips we did last year was going to the Winchester Discovery Museum. We talked about, I think that was plants and animals. We did that at the end of the year. We're hopefully getting back there this year, maybe the beginning of the year. So I don't know if it will be the same unit that we did at the Discovery Museum. But science, we try to do a lot of hands-on stuff. My first year, we talked about force, motion, and energy. I brought in rollerblades, and I was rollerblading We did do that last year. The greatest idea. But so science, like I said, we do a lot of hands-on kind of stuff. You see, there's a little less stuff. And a lot of it kind of does tie into Virginia studies, especially the natural resources unit. We'll go through the natural resources unit while we're going through the geography unit and Virginia studies, so they kind of intermingle a little bit. I do have a website. It is pretty straightforward. URL is classroom.justinbergfickler.com. If you can't remember that, or the way I'm telling the students to get to the website is they go to the HJV homepage, they go to the staff directory, they come till they find me, they click on me, and they click on website, and then you're at my website. My website, make an effort to visit it frequently. I update stuff on it almost nightly. I'm not saying you need to get on every night, but aim for like once a week because there's a whole lot of important stuff on there. There's the agenda, which is always going to have their homework is always going to be posted on there. All their homework is always going to be reading, practicing math facts, and then also the whatever video they need to watch. Calendars is cool because this is like the overall classroom calendar, and I always have my lesson plans posted this week. Very light because it's the first week, but once we get into it, it'll get a little bit more in depth. So that's a really cool feature because if you know your student's going to miss something, you can look at the lesson plan, see what they're going to miss, and try to work with me to do that. Classroom news is going to be another cool tab because this is classroom news that is written by your students. So let's just do a little recap of the week. At the end of the week, they will post. We'll type it up, and I'll post it, and so you can always see that. Important papers is another good link because any paper that I send home will also be posted up on important papers, so your students can't ever really say, I left it at school because it's there. You don't even need to, you can just kind of view it, works on any sort of operating system. So you can view it and they can't ever say that they left it at home or they left it at school because it's right there for you. And resources has, I don't know, I think I'm up to like 20 different links on there of different things we're going to be using in class, out of class. The right left column that has a lot of just general resources that we'll use in school and out of school. Class Messenger being one. Make sure you haven't signed up on Class Messenger. When we're done here, I can pull it up on my Chromebook and you can sign up for it. And then the reading and math resources. There are a ton of different websites that I have listed there that are going to be a little bit more interactive than just cut and dry. Here's a worksheet. As many of you are coming in, I was giving you a list of information, logins for the different websites for your students. If you came in after I started talking, I can give it to you on your way out. But those are where everything's going to be listed. We have spent a lot of time this week with the students kind of just going through the website, how to use the website. So they should know how to navigate it. They should know how to get there. They should know the important parts of the website. So the website, just check it frequently because it just makes me feel good that I have a website people look at. So the other part of that is Class Messenger. Class Messenger is a thing that many of you have signed up for. You either signed up for it before school, and I lovely graced your email presence a week before school started about that, or you signed up on back to school night, or whenever. Like I said, I have my Chromebook here. If you need to sign up, you can. That is the easiest way to communicate with me. I live in Warrenton, so it's about half an hour commute for me to get here. So if I want to get home at a reasonable hour, I do leave kind of after school normally, by like 4 o'clock, so I can get home. But email and Class Messenger is the best way to communicate with me. I have my phone with me all the time. I have a Chromebook. I really like technology. If you email me, send me a message on Class Messenger, you'll get a response within 2 hours probably. If you leave a voicemail, you have to wait till I'm back at school because my voicemail doesn't go to my home. I am always available for in-person meetings, but it has to be within the realm of the time that I'm at school. Well, Class Messenger, huge. You'll probably hear from me this year more than you'd ever like to, because I like to send reminders to Class Messenger, just little pictures of what we are doing in class, just really keep you informed on what's going on in class. So at home, the kind of expectations I've told the students is every night they need to be reading at least 20 minutes. They did a study. They did a study on I forget how many years ago, but they said that if a student reads 20 minutes a night, by the end of the school year, they have been exposed to almost 2 million words, which means that will put them up to, that'll put them at the 90th percentile, provided they're reading grade level material or reading with you grade level material. They read 65 minutes a night, which is over an hour, they'll be exposed to almost 4.5 million words, which will put them at the upper level of everything. Math facts, they do, like I said, they really do need to practice multiplication facts. That's really going to put them above and beyond in everything. IXL and Moving Maps are two websites that are really, really good, really interactive, in addition to Prodigy is a website that one of the students actually told me about, and this kids love playing. That's a math website. And there's a website that I just signed us up for called Who's Reading, and it's a math, or Who's Learning, Who's Reading, I don't remember what it's called. Who's Reading, and I just signed us up for that. I was meant to use it today, but the logins didn't go through, so I had to do it again after school. But that seems like it's another good interactive resource. They'll get study guides for different assessments, especially in Virginia studies and science. They will have some book projects, which are basically they'll read a chapter book or a book that they pick out in the library and do some sort of project based on it. It's not meant to overwhelm the students. They'll only have 2 of them for the whole advisory, so one in the midpoint and one at the end. So they'll have 4.5 weeks to do it, which if they pace themselves overall, they'll be fine. It's not designed to intimidate students or cause a struggle. But if they do put it off to the last minute, like the night before it's due, then that is when it becomes overwhelming. But the first one, last year, the first one, they had to make like a movie poster for whatever book they read. They'll normally have one that I consider harder or more involved, and one that's a little easier each advisory. So just try to help your student to kind of come up with a timeline to get those accomplished, so it's not the day before it's due. They're trying to read the book, do the thing, proofread it. But again, going along with the whole expectations for the year to make sure that they are taking responsibility. Don't sit down, work with them. Don't tell them what to do when try to have them do it. And sometimes natural consequences, if they don't get it done and they have to kind of cram beforehand, that might be a really good way for them to learn that lesson. Spelling and vocabulary, they'll have spelling and vocabulary tests every Friday, not tomorrow, but starting next week. And any other written homework is going to be optional. If they don't want to do it, that's fine. I do encourage them to do it because it's only going to make them better. But I know you guys are all very busy. I know the students are very busy. I don't want to add more stress. That being said, I know that the students are very busy. I know you guys are all very busy. Anything that you can do to make sure that they're getting some reading done and some math facts, that's the main goal here, in addition to the flipping, which I'm going to get into in a second. But I don't want working at home to become a struggle or a stress factor for you. You know your students better than I do. I only met them 4 days ago. You've had 9 years with them. Make sure you are working with them, but also make sure that they realize the value of working at home. Because if you're working at home with them, they're most likely going to do better in school, and then the rest of their life will be easier. They just need to really realize that school does need to be a priority, because that's really the best way to get ahead in society, in my opinion. But so that's reading and math facts are something that need to be completed pretty much every night, if not every night, frequently throughout the week. Which then brings us to our next point, which is flipping the classroom. How many of your students have told you about this? It is okay. So flipping the classroom is something new that I'm trying for this year. Basically, the main focus idea of flipping the classroom is, well, let's rewind. In the traditional realm of education, the students come to the school, they get a lecture presentation from the teacher, then they go home and they basically do like worksheets that are, if it's something the students didn't get in school, chances are they're not going to understand it at home. If they got it in school, chances are the worksheet's going to be a little bit too easy and just not worth it for the students. So flipping kind of takes that and flips it around. I'll record myself giving a presentation. Most of the time, it'll start with me introducing it, and then I'll split my screen so they can actually watch me doing it. So they watch the video, they take notes on it. We've been practicing 1 or 2 days next week, you'll have an assignment to watch the video at home, take notes, and get ready to work the next day in school. We have been practicing in school on that. The reason that we're doing flipping is because they can kind of work at their own pace. Some students can watch the video one time and pick it up instantly, be ready to move on. Some students need to watch it 2 or 3 times, and that's okay. It's the whole purpose of flipping is so the students can work at their own pace without getting frustrated if it's too hard for them or getting bored if it's too easy for them. So then when they come into school, I can kind of put them in groups based on how well I understand that they understood the video the prior night and going with that. They do need to watch it as many times until they feel comfortable or until they get too frustrated. If they're getting frustrated, just shoot me a message and we'll work through it at school. The videos, I aim for them to be all under 10 minutes. I think the longest one, which was just like an introduction to Mr. B, was 7 minutes. The one I did that was learning about patterns that we practiced today was like 4 minutes. The way I've been advising them to do it is watch the video through one time without taking notes or anything, then go back and they can pause it and rewind it as necessary. It is all on YouTube. It's on the Classroom video page. They know how to get to it. There are directions on the website how to get to it. The how to get to it, they should be very familiar with. I recommend the first couple times that they do it, you sit there with them, watch the videos. That'll help dual purpose. They'll get to flipping. That'll also help you kind of keep on track on how we're doing in school, and so then you can support them later. Please let me know how it's going at home. Like I said, this is the first year I've done this. I've done like research on it and talked with other teachers in all parts of the country who have done it, and from what I've heard from them, that's very successful. That the students and the parents both enjoy it. It is a little bit of a transition in the beginning because it's different. To be perfectly honest, it's very different than what most schooling is used to. But I'm really optimistic on it being a good thing because it really allows you to individualize for your student. Like I said, if your student watches it through once and then it goes back and like and understands it, great. That's great. Let them go do whatever they want to do for their evening. If they have to watch it a couple times, don't make it a chore. Don't say we need to sit down and watch Mr. B for the next 3 hours. Because nobody would want to do that. But they could watch it. You can kind of assess how they're doing. They can then go back and visit it later until they understand it. If they don't understand it, it's not like they're gonna come in and be like, well, you should watch the video. We'll work with them in school, but this is just to kind of best prepare them for the classroom. So then the time in the classroom can be spent more on practicing it and doing it rather than just hearing a lecture. Does that make sense? Like I said, please let me know how it's going. As you're watching the videos, let me know if there's anything I can do to make the videos better. It's my first time, so be gentle. And just make sure that I want to make it interesting for your students. I do talk very fast if you haven't picked that up by now, but that's the really nice thing about YouTube. You can rewind it, you can pause it. I'll occasionally just say, this would be a good time to pause. And so if I say that, I hope your student pauses. But it's normally I pull up like an interactive whiteboard on the screen and kind of model different things. It'll be the first couple of weeks when we're talking about place value, that's going to be more just kind of talking through things. So with place value, there's not a whole lot to do. But once we get into addition and subtraction, we'll do like all model problems. We'll do one together, and then they'll do one independently. Like I said, we will not do fully every night flipping until we'll give it a couple weeks. We'll kind of gauge it together, you guys and me, until we get into it.
So are you intending to flip all 4 subjects?
No, that's a very good question. I guess I should have probably put that in there. I'm intending only to flip math.
Okay, thank you.
Virginia Studies, reading, and science will be done still in class. Starting small, just with math.
Seems more reasonable.
Yeah, seems a little bit more reasonable. In the future, which your child won't be with me in the future, I would like to eventually flip Virginia Studies as well. But yeah, we're just flipping math this year. So it'll be less than 10-minute video. They watch it at home. It's on YouTube, so they can watch it at home. They can watch it on the go. YouTube will work on anything. Smartphone, tablet, computer. If you don't have a computer, that's not a problem. They can always watch it in school in the morning. We have Chromebooks here in the classroom. have access to Chromebooks every day, but it's going to be a lot more beneficial if they do watch at home because the only time they'll have more of a set time to do it in class versus at home. They have almost an unlimited time, not really unlimited at some point. But and like I said, just really keep me informed. I want to make this a good experience for you, me, students, everybody involved. But I think flipping will be a really good thing for everybody involved. Before I move on, do we have any questions about how to flip, why we're flipping?
Is it your intention to tie assessments to the flipping, or?
We'll still do assessments in school. But yeah, I mean, you guys want to get that's some great information.
Well, I didn't know in terms of formative assessment, if you were going to tie that to the flip, or you just going to do it?
They will have kind of the formative assessment will happen like at the end of every video. I'll give them a problem to do, and I don't think last time when I did it, I gave them the answer. I'll give them a little problem to do at the end, and they'll do it, and then you either bring it in school or I'll have it up on a whiteboard when they walk in and just say, "Quick, do this." So it'll be just a quick check in the morning to see how they did. But and then like the summative assessment will be in class once I figure they understood. Which actually brings us to the next slide about assessments. So the kind of going along with the student-led class and the flipping, assessments are going to be a little bit different in this classroom. In past years, even when I was my first 2 years, I kind of said like the assessment is going to be on this be ready. The way that we're gonna try this a little bit differently this year. The students can take the assessments when they're ready, with the exception of the spelling and vocabulary quizzes on Friday, and the read. They're gonna have either weekly or every other weekly read quizzes. Now, obviously, they can't we're gonna be done. Well, we're starting geography, and we'll probably finish geography up in the next 2 weeks, and then have a week of a project. They can't take the geography assessment the day before the SOL in May. They need to make sure that they have all the advisory assessments done by the end of the advisory, but try to make sure that they keep tabs on it. Make sure that they don't try to cram all the assessments in at the end of the year, or the end of the advisory. All the assessments that they'll be taking are listed under agenda. I think I just fixed this. Okay. I have a listing of every single assessment they'll have to take, or it's a little bigger when you're looking at it on your own screen. The assessments they have a couple of language arts assessments. They have a couple addition, subtraction, estimation, basically the whole number skills. They only have 2 assessments in reading and 1 assessment in science. This is again a work in progress. We'll see how it goes for first advisory. If we need to go back in second advisory to the normal, like here's when the assessment is, be ready for it. Or if we need to tweak it rather than giving them the whole 9 weeks, maybe give them a 2-week span of when you can start taking assessments and when it needs to be finished. But I just feel like this is a good way for the students to let me know when they're ready, because I know in past years there's been students who I said, I felt that the majority of the class was ready on a day, and they took the assessment, but they might not be ready. But if they had another extra couple of days, they might have been ready then. So this is kind of my effort to reward and allow them to really take the assessments when they feel they're ready, so they can do their best. Because education is really about the students. It's not about when it's convenient for me to make sure the assessments are done, or when it needs to be in the grade book, or when the county says that when the set date has been for getting the assessments done. It's really about when the student has shown mastery, feels confident in it, and feel that they can do their best. Like I said, this is also going to be a work in progress. If we need to tweak it for second advisory, that's fine. I don't think I've gotten into the whole assessment thing with the students yet. I'll do that tomorrow. But the only things that are going to be set dates are going to be spelling and vocabulary quizzes, which are going to start next Friday. They'll get spelling words and vocabulary words for Monday, and reading quizzes, which I haven't quite determined if we're doing every week or every other week. I don't want to over-test them. I like to teach rather than just have them test. The other thing about assessments, they can remediate any assessment, because my goal is for them to master the skill by the end of the 4th grade, not necessarily mastery of that day. So if they don't do so well, they'll have some remediation with me where we just work through, try to really analyze what happened. Maybe they had a bad day, maybe they didn't understand the skill. We'll work again, it is their responsibility because the fourth year we're trying to make a lot of things their responsibility. Any questions on this?
When you say it's their responsibility in terms of like we could be getting reminders or something like, you know, you can take this assessment now if you want.
Yeah,
Something like that,
yeah.
so-
And, like I said, I haven't gotten into this with them yet, but when I get into it tomorrow, I'll show them where it is on the agenda. We're actually going to set up a folder that will have the assessments and then they can check off. And as we're going through different skills, I'll be like, remember, if you're ready on the skill, let me know. And we'll set up the time that they're going to set up a date where they can take the assessment. Questions?
Are you using the full suite, the Google Classroom suite?
Yes. We're using all parts of Google. They don't have access to Hangouts, Google Plus, and
Right.
YouTube. But yeah, Drive, everything in Drive and Google.
Can we subscribe to your calendar and blogger? Have you talked about that all?
I don't have the calendar set up through. You can always log in on it as your student,
Right.
and see it that way. But I think they have blogger turned on.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't think those decisions. But there's a calendar on there that you can see. And the link will also have the whole listing of assessments. There we go. All right, and the almost final thing we're talking about is going to be these things that I started last year that are called Homeschool Connection nights, which are going to be very similar to what we're doing right now. Versus rather than me telling you about what we're doing in fourth grade, well, these will still be kind of talking about what we're doing in fourth grade, but they're going to be 1 hour twice a month nights. One will be a math night, one will be a reading night, where I kind of teach you and give you opportunities to practice what we're learning in school. So that'll kind of help you to be better prepared to help your students. I had a pretty good turnout last year when I did this. The parents appreciated it because it kind of helped them know how I'm doing it. Because like with multiplication or division or any really math skill, there's like 14,000 different ways to do different things. And so this way, that kind of keeps everybody on the same page on how to do it and go from there. If you can't make it, just like I'm recording this one, they're always recorded. They're always on YouTube. You can always refer back to. You can always refer back to the flipped videos because they're always available on YouTube. And there are on the classroom website. There are things called 2-minute tips, which are just very short versions of a flipped video. The 2-minute tips I made over the summer, and I was using an iPad app, and I didn't realize until after I had recorded them that there's all sorts of background noise clicking. So flipped videos are going to be more desirable to watch than 2-minute tips. But if you just need a quick crash course reminder, 2-minute tips are a really good idea. But Homeschool Connection night, parents really enjoyed them last year. They'll probably be, I don't know what day of the week, from what I understood, Thursday seems to work for most families, probably around the same time frame. Again, so I can get home at a reasonable hour. So those will start sometime in September. So one night will be about math, which the first one will cover a couple of numbers, and then this other one will be about reading, and we'll figure out whatever skill the students as a whole are kind of getting challenged with. So those I'll send it out to class manager, I'll send a paper copy home, and I'll look forward to it. And then the last one is, do you guys have any questions? Either overwhelmed you or you're understood? Either way. All right. Like I said, don't ever hesitate to contact me. You will definitively hear from me more than you probably have ever wanted to, because Class Messenger makes it really easy for me to just shoot a bunch of things out really quick because it's on my phone, it's on my Chromebook, it's on my iPad, it's on everything that I touch. Not my microwave. But I'll send out reminders, just what's going on in class, pictures. Like I said, I answer Class Messenger and emails pretty much as soon as I get them. Unless I'm remote cooking. That's where I'm in an email. But we're not going to get into that. But there is a Facebook account that it is a private closed thing. You have to request me, and I'll request you. It's closed. No one else can see it. It's just for our classroom. It's facebook.com/Mr. Berkwickler. That's not Mr. those are other ways to get updates and that kind of stuff. I am not to say that I'm not available for phone or in-person conferences. I get here about 7:15, and then I aim to leave by 4:30, but your schedule can't allow you to be here before 4:30. More than willing to stay as long as you need for any sort of conference. My planning time that you can come in for meetings then is at 12:45 to 1:15 or a phone call. I like to make myself as accessible as possible. I'll work around your schedule. At the end of the day, I just want the best for your kids. I don't have any kids of my own, but I try to say that I have 24 kids. So I just want this year to be great for your kids. I just want to do the best that I can and have them do the best that they can. So, any questions? Yes.
What has the school decided to do in terms of cursive? Our students are the first students in this school that didn't do it as a looping school and learned it they learned it in kindergarten, then they stopped it in first grade.
They change like every year. They were to have learned it. This group was to have learned it in third grade.
And then they didn't.
They didn't end up.
So that's why they still haven't relearned the cursive that they
Okay.
learned in kindergarten.
We will kind of reinforce it throughout the year. I in past years have kind of allowed the students to write in whatever they're most comfortable with because I want to get a good understanding of their writing versus because I mean personally I'm not the greatest at cursive because I haven't been reinforcing cursive since I was about their age. I think I learned in first grade. So I've had students in past years say that they are not great with cursive, so they'll write the bare minimum. But if I let them write in print, they'll write a lot.
I understand that.
yeah.
Letting them choose. I'm just concerned that this group never really learned it after kindergarten.
Yeah, we will reinforce it whenever there's time available. But we have a lot of other stuff to cover too. But we kind of a case by case basis is the best way to do it. And there'll also be developing type skills a lot. We'll be doing a lot of typing. But yeah, cursive we'll definitely make sure that they have it. But it'll have to be as because every kid's at a different level with cursive. Any other questions? Well, thank you. You have all been